In today's military, recruiting isn't just boots on the ground, it's stories on screens. In a world driven by algorithms and attention, someone has to translate service, sacrifice, and opportunity into content that actually connects. That's not just public affairs, that's strategy, psychology, and leadership in uniform. Today, I'm joined by Sergeant Seth Cohen from the New Jersey National Guard's Recruiting and Retention Battalion and recent recipient of Army Communicator of the Year. How you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderfully. Sleep
So
deprivation, be damned. I'm doing great.
that's awesome. I mean, that just comes hand in hand with the job, right? Just sleep
Yep.
deprivation. It's just second nature at this point.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like who is Sergeant Cohen? Just outside of just the job, but like also what you do for work and where you're at right now.
Right. So in the national, so as far as like what I do for work, this is my full-time job. I do this 9 to 5. When I'm not doing this 9 to 5, I'm taking care of my pet rabbits. Got two little ones. One's a Lionhead Rex mix. The other one I couldn't tell you. Um, just got recently engaged. Life's kind of happening outside, you
Oh,
know. Um,
congrats, man.
Yeah, aside from that, I'm a big camera nerd. I love all things creative. Um, Coming from Dinfos, it introduced me to the whole Adobe suite. I didn't realize that, even despite almost failing it, I'd actually come to fall in love with it, about three-ish laters after my really hectic introduction into recruiting. So, yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I want to talk a little bit about that. So like going into this job field, it's at least for how it is in the Marine Corps, this job field is extremely rare to get. Like to go in on a contract on like being a combat photographer is extremely rare. And so I'm not sure if that's the same for the Army, but what was like your drive or like your motivator to be like, hey, this is the line of work that I want to go into for the military?
Right. So similar to you, to the Marine Corps in this sense, getting a even though we can pick our jobs, getting a spot in public affairs is also incredibly rare. In the state of New Jersey, there were only 3 spots open for public affairs, and I only ever picked it because I just didn't want to go artillery. And my recruiter at the time was really pushing that on me.
Mhm.
And at the time, I had a half-baked political science degree, and it seemed like at the time that public affairs would go hand in hand with it. Spoiler alert, it really doesn't. Um, but after falling in love with it at Dinfos, really getting to meet, really getting to see what this job had to offer, I fell in love with it just afterward. And after that happened, I came to really want to do this full time.
What was like that? Because like I totally get like, okay, I don't want to do artillery. What's the next best option or what's out there that I can, escape from doing the typical, kind of bullshit that a lot of the military jobs have to offer. What was when you were going through doing PAO stuff, was that kind of turning moment where you were like, uh yeah, this job is sick and I want to, get really good at it.
So, just a personal thing about me, I always put my best foot forward no matter what I do. It's just a thing in me. I've always, even if I have no partiality to it, I will at least try my best on the
I
first
love
thing
that.
going. So, when I went to public affairs, I had no clue what I was getting myself into, but I figured, hey, I'm going to give it my best shot. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste the taxpayers' time. I want to do my family proud. So I went in and I did my best, and I didn't know that, just later on I'd actually fall in love with it. But I didn't that click where I guess viewed it as my passion came along about a few missions after I got back from AIT, or what you guys would call MOS school or something. I know that Marines call it a little bit different.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So yeah, going back to like right before you went or during, so AIT is what you go to, that's after your basic training, right?
Right.
And then you
So,
go up to Dinfos after AIT?
right. So, putting in perspective, if I remember correctly, Marines have their boot camp, and then you guys have MCT, and then
Yeah.
after that, you guys have your job school, and then after that's where you guys go to fleet or
Yeah.
your unit. In the Army, we just go to basic combat training, and then after that, we just go straight to AIT, which is your job school, right?
Okay, got
So,
it. So for those of like for people watching that don't know what that looks like, what does the Army AIT like? What are you doing straight out of boot camp for someone that's going into PAO? What does that look like?
all right, so going straight from basic training to PAO, yeah, it is actually the transition actually isn't really that big because how do I put it? So from the perspective of other branches other than the army, you guys received like just gradually more and more freedoms at the time. Now in the army, we all fall under what's known as TRADOC. It's or not anymore. They got rid of it, but at that point in army history, the PAO training detachment, that little hub area where we would all, sit around, we were still with drill sergeants. We still had folks watching over us. It was, it,
Oh
it was,
yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
and I'm sure that like at one point or another in your class, you probably had a couple of army guys just whining and complaining about yet, not being able to go off post or something like that. Um, so the transition really didn't kick in up until like the very tail end when we could actually, you know, earn our transition, whereas other folks could just, really embrace the dual life. I hope
Yeah.
that answers your
No, I
question.
remember that. That's so funny. You totally like brought back a memory. I remember like being at the frickin' what do they call it? The chow hall?
Feedback, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, the DFAC. They we thought it was so funny when we would see y'all drill sergeants in there blasting you guys, and we're like, oh shit, that must suck to still be at that stage in stage of
Oh,
your career. Yeah, that is hilarious. So
it's nostalgic.
yeah, yeah. I just saw a video on my feed of somebody that was saying for us we have the Mardet that's there. I think that's like I'm not sure where it is in relation to where all y'all stay, but the I saw a video of someone sitting at the duty desk. And it's just, I don't know. There's just so many fun times from that area. So much random shit. I was there for 13 months. It's a long ass time.
Bless your. I heard that the Marines, particularly, had a long. Sometimes y'all would wait longer than you would actually in the
Yeah.
trainings. Like you would be there for entire cycles of Marines
Yeah.
coming and leaving just because the spots were like filled up that quickly. Y'all have a very very tiny community, and I will say y'all are professional at it too. The Marine Style Guide. Y'all are no joke. I have mad respect for you guys.
We love Brandon. We love the Brandon.
I mean, y'all
Um,
almost got me. I was a pulley at one point. So at one point, I did want to enlist in the Marines, even though it was kind of like explaining it makes it's so weird
okay.
how that went down. The
Let's
reason
get
why I'm in
weird.
the guard. Do you want to hear that story? It doesn't have much to do with with public affairs though.
Okay.
Um,
That's
so
okay. I want to
all
hear
right.
what I want to hear what happened when you're like, okay, I want to go to the Marines, but instead, no, let's go do National Guard.
So
What was the
the skinny of it is that the recruiter was not good.
oh
Um,
shit. Okay.
Yeah, the at that point in time, I was morbidly afraid of. Uh, my mother had recently undergone a pap smear and found something in her breast, and at that point in time, I didn't really feel comfortable leaving my mom at that because your entry training is long.
It
It's really
is.
long. It's really
It is.
long. And telling my mom, who could just be told at any point between now and then that she has cancer, it didn't sit well with me. And when I
Oh,
went to go talk to the gunnery sergeant at that point in time, that like, hey, my mom may have cancer. I don't really feel, comfortable going. And he instead of like comforting me in that situation, he was like pressuring me. He was like saying, "Hey, he was like telling me like, love don't pay the bills, yada yada yada. You should really just like finish up boot camp." And I understand being in recruiting, I get the fire that's probably under his ass, but I don't think that even that justifies telling that to a young recruit. It does
No,
that.
I mean that's unfortunately there's gonna be those bad apples out there, you know. Like
Yeah.
that's you got to have some sort of like a little bit of empathy, you know. You can't just go
Oh
out
yeah.
there and try to shove the spoon down everybody's throat and be like, this is the only way to do it, because that's not gonna work for everybody. Everybody's got a different story.
Yeah. And the funny part is that I really did drink the Kool-Aid at that point in time.
When you were a Puli,
oh yeah, man. I looking back, I was cringe as hell. Like I was cringe. I had
What
the
was the cringiest thing you did as a Marine Corps Puli?
oh god. My freaking my alarm to wake me up was the Marine song, brother.
Ah, let's
It was
go.
bad. It was bad. It
That's
was so
legendary.
bad.
I
It
love
was
that.
so bad.
Maybe in
Yeah,
another life. In another life. I mean, you still got time. You can still come on. You can still come on over. No, I think you're doing.
Maybe when the bonus isn't just being a Marine,
Yeah, valid.
maybe I'll
That
take up comm strat. Maybe.
okay. Well, no, you're doing absolutely fantastic for where you're at right now. Tell me a little bit like so like we talked a little bit about it over DMs, but like you're in a very unique position, right?
Yeah.
With what you're doing, like it's hard for me to explain. So I'm gonna let you kind of talk to a little bit about where it is that you're stationed at and how you even got to that point.
All right. I've been rehearsing this conversation for a fat minute because I've had no one to talk about it with.
I'm all
But
ears. I'm all
all
ears,
right,
buddy.
so there is a bit of context that needs to be understood about marketing before I explain how I got here. Okay.
Okay.
So in the military, we have two sets of doctrine, right? I'm sure you at during the DEI purge at one point or another, you probably saw them reference Dodie 5417, right?
hmm Yep.
So, like if you don't know it, you can quite literally search it up in every major public affairs social media. They'll say like within accordance to Dodie 54 yeah 54 17 blah 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 we're like we're re-looking up our social media to get rid of stuff. I don't know if you remember that memo that was put out
Yeah.
like earlier in 2025. Now if you actually read that regulation, you'll see that there is a reference to another regulation, Doty 1350. Now, why am I talking about this? Those two regulations distinguish public affairs from marketing and the doctrine that follows. So, you know how sometimes you'll have Marine Corps recruiting accounts and then PAO recruiting account? I'm sorry, and then just regular PAO accounts?
Yes. Like so
Those
like unit accounts and then recruiting accounts.
Yes. No, not even that. Just branch recruiting accounts and
Oh,
then
okay.
branch accounts. So you have the Marines and then you have United States Marines.
Yep.
One posts marketing material, the other posts just a lot of the cool stuff that Marine comcams get to put out, right?
Yeah.
So with that context in mind, you have that being set forth for reserves, for the guard, and I think even for like the merchant marines or the other like military but not military accounts, you have those things. It's actually like the case for every single government entity. So when we take it to the National Guard, we're a little bit different. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention. Most of those accounts in marketing, forgot to mention backtracking here. Most of those accounts they're ran by civilians.
Yep.
Nine
They
times
are.
out of ten.
Typically, it's the marketing agency that runs them.
Precisely. Freaking the air for instance, the Air Force, they contract out like Hollywood studios to make their commercials.
Yeah. So do we.
Very say again?
So do we.
Oh yeah. So then you guys get it. Like very few, if any, actual green suitors um even touch that account. Very, very few. And the National Guard, though, it's very different. So constitutionally, the National Guard is managed by each state's government. So, therefore, each recruiting and retention battalion will be able to do whatever the hell they want within their own state's marketing thing. So, rather than having it
Oh,
set,
okay.
you, you see how it kind of like mirrors the Constitution in that way?
Yeah.
That's how it works with the National Guard marketing. So, there is a overarching entity called the National Guard Bureau. Those folks manage, the National Guard as a whole, but the states manage their guards for the most part.
Okay.
NGB just provides guidance. You have any questions so far? I know I'm throwing a lot of
No, no, no.
stuff at
So,
you.
so from how I'm understanding it, constitutionally, there's like states and the National Guards within each state can have a different approach to their marketing efforts. Is that what you're
Mm-hmm.
getting at a little bit? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
interesting, interesting.
Right. So each recruiting and retention battalion, by doctrine, is supposed to have a marketing section. It's in
Okay.
their S7, right? So, given the fact that every state has different budgets, different brain fart, different has different priorities, different budgets and things like that. Their marketing teams are going to vary. So you'll see some states with very active social media accounts. Shout out to the California Army National Guard and the Massachusetts Army National Guard recruiting accounts. Those guys are leading the way, I would argue. And then you'll have other accounts that are practically non-existent. I haven't really seen much out of like the Washington National Guard, Kansas, or them. Like they probably have social
Why
media
is that? Is
NCOs.
that just is that strictly a budgeting thing? They just the teams have low manpower, low
A
like
lot of it has to do with that,
yeah.
and also, and I actually I'll get to that in a second. It'll
Okay.
make sense as I explain my story, at least, right? So, with all that in mind, each marketing section is supposed to have, by doctrine, only one marketing NCO that pretty much manages not only the marketing but the merchandising, distributing backpacks, keychains, wallets, and all the gizmos that you give the kids to probably enlist, right? So social media is more often than not an afterthought for the vast majority of marketing NCOs in the National Guard,
Yeah.
leading to very few social media accounts actually doing these big things, doing these big productions. It was up until very recently that there was a revived concerted effort in social media and content creation overall, where we saw folks like myself actually entering these positions. But it's not like doctrinally appointed or anything like that. You don't have a PAO assigned to recruiting at all, actually. There's no public affairs slot or a comcam slot in recruiting. I worked my way up in a nebulous position.
So there's not one of you at every recruiting
No.
like station.
Nope. Nope.
Okay, so okay, elaborate a little bit on that. So then how in the world
Right.
are you where you're at?
So, in I don't know if the Marine Corps does something similarly, but in the Army, we have slots for MOSs. Each unit has a certain amount of slots for each MOS that they're supposed to have. In
Yeah.
recruiting, I think like 99% of those slots are for recruiters or for folks who have been recruiters at some point, right? So in marketing, though, marketing is often treated like what's the term, a broadening assignment. You mostly go to marketing for like a 3 year tenure, so that way you can pattern up your resume. So that way, when you finally have it, you can make E7 or E6, and then you can go back to the field as a recruiter and forget the 3 year stint that you spent up here in HQ. That's how it normally goes. Now, with my current leadership, they view it very differently. Remember what I said. Marketing varies by state because of how people manage the budget. In New Jersey, there was a revitalized effort in all venues of marketing. Because the last guy, I'm not going to dive too deep into this. Let's just say that his method of managing the budget was not preferred. I'm going to leave it at that. this go around, we were really trying to dive around cost efficiency. And we were trying to figure out how to generate leads and calls to action in the most efficient way possible. That ultimately led to me being put on orders, but I want to spin that tail first. But before I go, did I answer your question?
100%. Yeah, yeah.
So when I was but a wee little PFC, I wanted to do this full time. I just got done doing the 2 weeks out of the year. I was at Fort Drum. I loved it. Like being like embedding with the 102nd, embedding with like the infantry and actually, going on an FTX with them. It was most of
Fun.
the time.
It's so fun.
Yeah, like it's one thing when side tangent. I'm sure you totally get it. It's one thing when you're just at a weapons qual or when you're at like a sticks lane and you just finish up your thing, you just go back home. But it's another when you're out in the field with the folks. You almost feel like you're in Nat Geo, like telling the story,
Yeah. Yeah,
watching these
100%.
people
Yeah.
get progressively more disgruntled as the day goes on. Like it's that's like why I love the job so much, right?
And
Right.
I think like one of my favorite part about that, like you mentioned, like watch people get more disgruntled. It's like, yeah, I totally feel like I'm a documentary filmmaker, and I wanna just like, I wanna make my own. You ever watched Combat Obscura?
No, I haven't. I have
It's a
not.
really good one about a combat photographer deployed out in Afghanistan, got out, took a bunch of the raw footage that he did and made a just made a movie about it. I think it's available on like Amazon Prime or something, just with the raw footage.
I would have loved to know about this, man. Sheesh.
You watch it this weekend, it does not disappoint, but all the footage in there is stuff that like when like in this job there is like some sort of like quality check. You're not going to put out everything that you're documenting just because sometimes
Right.
you might document something that's either clearance levels or maybe
Yeah.
it's just not like our best foot forward type of thing. Every marketing organization or anybody that has to do with PR deals with this. It's
Oh, for
not like
sure. For sure.
it's not just a military thing, but there'd be times when you're saying like people getting occasionally more disgruntled. I'm like, this would be like an insane part of like a documentary, but I would never be able to put this out here. You know what
Oh
I'm saying?
yeah, I remember like one guy the guy was bald. He took like the stuff you normally use for like concealment on your face. He just made like the like Aang's arrow on his head and went into the sticks lane like that. Um bro fired his M240 screaming I am Aang as he did it. And I had to throw away like half the freaking recording because the dude was just shouting and I so, but yeah, that stuff really convinced me of my love for this job. I
Yeah.
I quite literally didn't want to do anything else. I just wanted to do this. And in the National Guard, you're a part-time force. You only do it 1 week in a month. And I got to see the guy. His name is Michael Schwenk. The guy's also a former Marine. You got a big shout out to Schwenk Shots. I'll send you his Instagram. Really, really, uh, ta- really talented photographer. I can't even like Ashley. The guy was the standard for my success when it came to photography. This
So
guy really,
he's kind of like your like you looked up to him to try to like emulate some of the things that he was making.
oh for sure. Granted, the guy shot Nikon. I'm a Canon guy, but hey. But yeah, no, he what he did with that Z6 was top tier, man. But and this guy also was one of the few soldiers in the guard that actually really liked to get down and dirty. I don't know if I'm sure the Marines have like a whole thing about being motivated, but in the Army, there were lots of folks who just didn't have that like chutzpah, that willingness to get into the fray and to tell the story. I don't know if you guys had that
It's
problem.
still that problem still exists in the Marine Corps. That's something that I like. Yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying.
Like I will dive into the field with 1 hour of sleep if it means I can get some cool stuff. because like,
that should be like a prerequisite for this job.
exactly.
I feel like there's because that's probably one of the problems where it's like that was one of my biggest gripes when I was coming in, at least, is like there was such a bad stigma around Comstrat and just the whole community with like infantry battalions or just anybody that's out there in the field all the time, because it's like they go out there and then they just bitch and complain and they're not like a part of the unit. Like, dude,
Yeah,
get down in
no.
there with them. Your job is to
Yeah,
document the story. How are you going to
exactly.
document
Like
it if you're not feeling like what they're feeling?
my
Yeah, just saying.
yeah, no, but I think you and I alone could spend another hour talking about this one issue alone, but not to
For
get any more
sure.
sidetracked.
Yeah.
I fell in love with this, and I wanted to do this full time, and I was willing to do anything to do it full time. And at first, I thought like doing it full time just meant being a photographer full time. And I realized I didn't really like it. I had like a brief stint in concert photography. I had a brief stint doing work with like local politicians. I made a lot of connections there, but I realized that it just wasn't scratching that itch for me. The being a PAO in the army, being a cameraman in the army was there's nothing like it. I don't think there's you probably can relate. There's nothing that comes close to that adrenaline rush that you get when when you guys receive contact, but on the flip end of it, you know that you're still telling that story. It's like you're like walking in limbo almost. You're telling that story, you're capturing everything, but you also know that it's your story to tell too. It's everybody's story to tell. Like there's so much mindfulness. It's like mind body connection almost. I love talking about this shit, man. But
I know I see the passion. I feel that passion too. So like it's
it's
like
it
yeah.
gets me fired up every time I think about it, man. But when I realized that I wanted to do army stuff full time, I wanted to be a PAO full time. I sunk my teeth into anything I could get my hands on. I had a brief little stint in Albania. Mind you, in the National Guard, we have this thing called the State Partnership Program, where you can go. The states has like an assigned partner. That's like a post Cold War thing. It's like ours is Albania and Cyprus. Other folks have like Ukraine, Kenya, and all that stuff. It's like a mentor partnership program, all that jazz. You can probably look it up. It's pretty cool. But I did everything I get my hands on until one point. I befriended one of my older recruiters' friends. And this is how I got into marketing. It was a very backdoor dealy, indirect path. Most folks just get assigned their units, their jobs.
Right.
The guard is the exception in this case. I can tell you that.
Okay. So
So,
a little bit of a cheat code there, a little bit, sounds like.
oh, very much so. I'm not. It is not. My privilege is not beyond me. I understand that there are many in the guard who would kill to be in the position that I'm in, which is why I take it seriously. So yeah, I get to do this stuff full time. So I'm grateful for it. So going into it, right, I was just I didn't care what it was. I just wanted to be in the military and do the stuff full time. So I would take pictures of the most, you know, routine, boring events that anyone could think of, like table setups, gym takeovers, workouts, the stuff that you at first think like, oh yeah, this is fun, but then after about a month of doing it, you're like, okay, this is getting to be a bit much. Um, and
Yeah.
in my case, it took about a few ish months for me to build that connection, for me to get on orders.
Okay.
Um, I met this guy in 2022. I
So
got
you
put
were
on
just
orders.
doing that on your own time. Like you weren't
Yeah,
on orders doing
I
anything.
volunteered my time. Yes.
You were just at home and then you went out there with the recruiters and you were like,
Mhm.
"Hey, I'm here to take pictures of you guys."
Yep.
Not like not getting paid, just you're just doing your own thing.
Yep. I mean, at
Holy.
some points or another, the recruiters would like they would like pay for my food. Some of them would like
Yeah,
give me like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they'd give me some money here and there because like what are you gonna tell the photographer with with a 5D Mark IV, yeah, just here's $50. Like it's a little insulting, you know. um, so I built these connections prior to even knowing that I was going to be asked to do this full time. It took about a year. My recruiter got me on orders to just be he wanted me to occupy the position of just like a little ADOS runner. You know how like when poolies go to boot camp and they come back and they kind of sometimes you'll see the graduates come back and help in the operations of the recruiting office every now and then.
Yeah,
Sometimes
we call them CDRs, or what's more commonly known as is recruiters assistants. And then
literally,
that,
yeah.
yeah, so they'll come back, and then typically we use them to go and like stand up in front of their schools and be like, "Hey, look at me now," type of thing.
Yeah, like in the recruiting and retention battalion, that kind of opportunity is seen as incredibly lucrative. The folks will do anything and everything to get their hands on ADOS orders because you're getting paid active duty pay and BAH.
Oh,
So
damn.
yeah, so you could be an E3 or E4 getting paid upwards of like 4 grand a month,
That's
four
kind of
grand a month.
a crazy hidden perk. The knowledge, like I've never heard of that. I feel
Yeah.
like that's kind of a hidden perk there.
Oh, it is. And when people learn about it, people come rushing to the gates to get them until people come to find out that ADOS money is very limited. So
Yeah.
when kids get put on ADOS nowadays, you have to like show interest that you want to become a recruiter. You can't just
Okay. Okay.
back then they were just handing out ADOS orders like hotcakes because we were in a manpower shortage. So
Hmm.
anybody and everybody could just get it.
Yeah.
Pause. Um, so I got put on those ADOS orders, and I held the unique special duty of marketing. But when I tell you it was a trial by fire, it was.
So who
It,
who
it
designates that? Did you just go in there and was like, "Hey, I want to come and do this, but
there
I'm
was
I'm
no
going to do the
designation.
marketing." What's that?
There was no designation.
So you're just like, "Okay, I'm gonna do recruiting, but my like
Oh
my
no no no
scope
no no
of."
no no no! They had me occupying the position of an ADOS runner, of a
Okay.
recruiter's assistant. But instead of me doing the duties of a recruiter's assistant, I was instead making content for the recruiters
Dude,
on the
hell
DL.
yeah. Hell yeah.
Like it was supposed to be a kept secret.
You know what's so
And
funny is I did the exact same thing when I was coming back on RA because I was in the schoolhouse for 13 months. They gave me like
right,
2 months, 3 months of RA, came back to my recruiting substation, and instead of well, I was doing some of the regular recruiting duties, but I was making content for them too, doing the roles of a Mac before I even knew that I was going to be a Mac. But yeah, so yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I was in the same
yeah,
same fucking shoes, dude.
yeah. So it was um going back to that fact that I had mentioned earlier, right? That it is not there's no formal designation for a digital marketing guy like myself, right?
Yeah.
In this instance, I didn't really have any kind of doctrine or top cover keeping me away from the pony show events, all the bull crap, right? And I was an E4. And at that point in time, I didn't really know how to say no to a battalion comprised of about like 80% E6s and E7s.
Right.
So I was overworking myself. No, I was slaving away. I didn't know how to like tell folks, hey, I can't make your event because I have Sergeant such and such's event 3 hours from here to go to still edit. Like I had no time to breathe.
Yeah.
And this went on for about 2 months where I was just, you know, just I the phrase goes, I got what I asked for, but I didn't get what I wanted. It was just it was I was doing this full time, but I didn't like what I was doing. Right? Yeah.
So working all your way, getting into the position that you're in now, obviously now kind of reaping somewhat the fruits of your labor because you just got told what?
All right. So this is where things start to get better, though, right? My work paid off essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Toxic leadership aside, I'm not going to dive into that because I don't know who's going to see this, but let's just say that I actively campaigned in tandem with people above me in in the HQ element to move up to a place where my talents would actually be better appreciated without the XO knowing. Because the XO and the guy who wanted me on orders just wanted me to be their little, their little photographer guy. Um, Now to kind of explain my experiences here, this is kind of where I'm going to answer one of the biggest questions that you would ask: what's the difference between marketing and PAM?
Yeah.
In this instance, this is where I discovered the difference between the two. Public affairs, we tell the story of the military. We do it to almost to a fault. We tell everybody what is happening, when it's going to happen, and why it's happening. We give you the five W's. We make it as easy as possible for people to understand what is happening without any strings attached. Marketing, we convey an experience in the form of a call to action. I didn't quite know how to do that when I was starting out in this position. I didn't know how to. My I was being told that I had to make trends. I had to attempt these crazy Instagram things that were thrown at me that I'm sure you and I both know. Had we shown them to our company first sergeants, they'd be shot down before we even got a chance to say anything. So it was jarring to me to have people suggest just wild things like like the trends that that'll get you on not in rags, the trends that'll get you on USA what the fuck. The people like Kearns and all that jazz, right? Stuff that would get us canceled.
Yeah.
I had to sit there and I had to facilitate conversations, but being the E4 surrounded by an O3 and an E6, I didn't know how to tell them no.
Right.
So I was fighting tooth and nail. It was like having to go against everything that I learned was the right thing, and everyone around me was just saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't matter." Now things are different, thankfully, but at that point in time, I wanted out. I was about to end it right there, and just write out my contract and go active duty up until I met my current NCO leadership, and she is the sole reason as to why I'm still in the recruiting battalion. Before I go further, any questions? I know I just
How
threw a
long
lot
have
of
you
you.
been? How long have you been with the current recruiting battalion they're at right now?
I've been in for about 4 years. 4 years.
With the recruiting battalion?
Yes, and I've been in the army for about six.
So you've been doing the marketing for 4 years.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So when you're talking about like the main differences from the 2 years that you were at before PAO, or when you were just strictly PAO versus the last 4 years even marketing, what's like the one outline thing that I know you mentioned it a little bit before, but like what if you could explain it in like the simplest terms, what is the main difference that you see in your roles and responsibilities as a PAO versus what you do marketing, kind of like in the simplest term that you could like convey to somebody?
As a marketer, you are graded by a really fine standard. And I'll elaborate. And I promise you it will make sense. In public affairs, you ever have that camera guy, the guy in Comstrat or PAO where they just give the standard. It's just the standard, but it still passes. It still passes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
So you can pass that off just fine, but the point of it is that it still gets across the five W's. You can, even if it's done poorly, you can still get across everything you need to the public. In
yeah,
marketing, that doesn't cut it. In marketing, that is not the case. You have to provide high end material, or else your days are numbered because of the fact that you don't have that doctrine protecting your job like you
Yeah.
do in any other MOS.
I kind of like to look at it like when you're PAO or just Comstrat or Comcam, whatever the job is that you're doing, that's not marketing. I like to look at those jobs, PAO, Comstrat, just as kind of like, can you tell a story, right? And a
Yes,
lot of people can tell a story. When you get on the marketing side, you're gonna still tell a story, but you're trying to get people to buy that story,
exactly.
right?
You're conveying an experience, an
Yeah.
interaction. You're interacting with the people. You don't you can have that in public affairs, but it's not nearly to the extent that it is with marketing. I
Right.
would
And I
say
think I
that
think what you said too is like what you're great or what you're graded on or just being able to like take the metrics of what you're actually proficient at is a lot more there's a lot more gray area when you're just kind of like, hey, did you get those five? Did you tell the story, right? If
right,
I took a really shitty video and I see everybody that's there, I see where it's at, and I understand the actions that are happening and roughly around what time of the year and all that good stuff, and
right.
it's a horrible piece of content, then yeah, you like to your point, you've done it. You've
Like
passed.
hooray! It is yet another generic 5 minute over melodramatic video. Like hooray! But hey,
Yeah.
if the public wants to find it, they can get it on Divots. Like
Right.
it is what it is. But in marketing, though, very different. Because in marketing, you're trying to convince people to join, and the metrics by which you're graded actually varies in between each project. So
So talk a little bit about because I have like obviously a good thought of this, but your point, your where your role is most significantly utilized in kind of the roadmap to somebody learning about the Army or what the Army has to offer, and then getting to talk to the recruiter. Where do you lie in that roadmap, in that journey
right.
from a prospect to somebody going to basic training?
So keep in mind this varies by state. So keep that in mind. In the New Jersey National Guard, my mission is to create not just social media content, but also commercials, flyers, and just any real form of digital media, right? Trackable
Yeah.
digital media. Now, mentioning the National Guard Bureau, right? They have a tool known as Campo. It's our ability to streamline tracking our return on investment for campaigns.
Okay.
Now, I don't want to turn this into a finance class, so I'm just gonna turn this into a crash course. National Guard gets a big marketing budget. Every state receives some sort of share of the pie based on their mission, right? Now, that share is spent on marketing campaigns. Comparative to the Marine Corps, where there is just a marketing budget and that's just spent on a giant contractor that can just use Hollywood studios and all that stuff. In the National Guard, we don't got that. They hire like a B tier studio at the bureau level, and then the leftovers get sent to the state. The state does whatever the hell they want with them. Sometimes the state reinvests that money into other things. Sometimes the state just take that money and use it in another unit. But in our instance, we actually used that money. We appropriated it for marketing campaigns. On Hulu, we made ads. We had like movie theater commercials. Um, the state can make these decisions based purely on the contractors that we are approached by. Does that make sense?
And there's no limitation. So
There
you're
is.
approached by a
There are guidelines for
contractor.
this. There
Okay,
are
there are.
guidelines for this.
Because
You have to be a registered government contractor. Like
got you.
there are rules and regulations to this.
Okay. So when you're talking about you get a little piece of the pie when it comes to, the money drop down to you for New Jersey marketing efforts, right? For
Right.
National Guard New Jersey marketing efforts. You get a little drop in the bucket of money. What are like some of the main campaigns that you guys are focusing on for generating leads?
Right. So we primarily in New Jersey invest heavily in Instagram and in Facebook.
So you guys are
Um,
running paid ads?
yes, we run paid ads through what's known as the state marketing program.
And are
Now,
you Are you the one that's responsible for like making the ads and running them?
Yes, I'm the one responsible for making the ads. The I missed a bit of context, but there's like a third party that's divided by region across the country. They're
Uh-huh.
called shrags. I'm not going to dive into what those are because
Yeah.
too much semantics. But this middleman, that's the person that contracts approach when they want to do business with the state, right?
Okay.
And they can offer like ad time spots on social media, spots on commercials. These are the guys who work with the NFL and propose doing business with the National Guard to have a National Guard ad, showcased in an NFL stadium, right?
Okay.
That makes sense. So
Yeah.
in in short, we get like a bunch of guys offering ad time, air time for our ads, and they provide those specs for me, and I have to execute. Granted, this wasn't the standard when I first joined. It kind of made shift into its own self-made SOP
Yeah.
because of just how we had to kind of pick up the scraps from poor leadership prior to us.
I mean, that's one of
Um,
the kind of beauties of the job is that you do kind of get to come up with a self-made SOP because
it is,
I mean,
yes.
there's some marketers that are more effective in some things that, than others. And then obviously to be an all-encompassing marketer as a one-man army is not something that's very efficient.
Yeah, no. To this day, I've been fighting to get another guy to help me out.
I think that there should be like if they really want to see localized efficiency and localized returns on, the efforts that are, I mean, especially in your case, right? Like you guys are fighting out for or like just battling to generate leads at a national level at a localized entity. Whereas, like, yeah, I've got the support of like big marketing agencies doing, nationwide blasts, doing paid ads, doing broadcasts on a national level, like doing huge efforts, right? Millions of dollars of efforts. And then
right.
for me, I'm kind of like, for how the Marine Corps does it, every headquarters and every RS has like their little area. For me, I'm in San Francisco. So I like directly influence for the Bay Area, but I'm also getting a lot of overhead from large marketing agency that Marine Corps contracts. So I oversee like like a couple little programs, but even then, like those programs, it's a lot of responsibility for one person to do.
It
So like for
is.
you in your
It is.
position, I can only imagine that there's so much more that you're trying to accomplish because you don't have as much of like overarching help. So like being a one man army on that, like what are the things that you have to like what are things that you prioritize? And then, like, what are the things that you feel like I need another person because this is something that's like still as important, but I can't effectively do it as a one person?
The biggest thing that actually helped me, ironically, was public affairs that helped me tackle all of this. And I'm
Yeah.
going to explain why. I mentioned earlier that I had a couple of friends in politics, right? I also mentioned that I was building connections. The unspoken truth about public affairs is our ability to network with people. Marketing is 50% networking.
Oh, yeah.
And I wouldn't even say that marketing stops at selling things. It starts at public relations. So I tackled the design of our digital marketing and treated it at its inception like a public affairs account and went on to tackle all of my marketing endeavors like they were public affairs missions, even though I could have gone about them differently. So, what I would do is, with my connections politically, having worked in county politics, I went out of my way to try to have recruiters sit in front of principals to get market shares into schools. And I would work with those folks on the recruiting side and the connections that I had to get some of my content played in high schools. I used my connections to have them speak with like school superintendents because I just knew the right people to talk to. Surprisingly enough, most recruiters don't know that these people even exist. So it's getting out there and involved in the public. So bringing it back to marketing, I always wanted to push at first the faces of the recruiters and understanding their connection, not just with the kids, but also with the parents and with the faculty of their community. I pushed that on our social media. The Army has more than enough gun toting content. As much as I love going out to the field, we have more than enough stuff. Blowing stuff up, shooting stuff up. We have more than enough of that. Kids
Right.
already know that that's what they would be signing up for.
Right.
So when you are making content, or when I was making content in marketing at first, I was making the moves to have people in front of the right people.
Hmm.
And campaigns only became an afterthought for that. That was my success. And then I would use the content that I'd produced from that to get put on divots. And it paid off in dividends. I'd have
Okay.
news agencies pick up my stuff. Um, in the Army year in review photo, one of my first photos I got there was like a Boy Scouts flag folding thing with the honor guard that got organized. And one of the kids ended up enlisting because of that, because the news picked it up.
Do you plan on doing so, like from what you've learned here, do you plan on taking it and running with it and maybe doing something outside of the military? Like if you were to like, is that something that's in the playbook for you, or are you just planning on sticking to a marketing military like
So
scope?
I am fortunate enough to have made AGR orders, right? That's kind of like the pinnacle of getting of I'm on Title 32 now, like so I'm being paid full time. So, but that was at the cost of being told that I'd have to leave marketing at some point, which is sad. I love it here.
Yeah.
And I don't see myself anywhere else outside of uniform. I want to do my full 20. If it means I have to go active duty or if I have to switch branches, it is what it is. I can't not see myself doing this full time.
So you would
Um,
stay doing military, but you want to continue doing marketing or at least PAO somewhere.
yeah, at least PAO is what I would
Okay.
want. Um, and don't get me wrong, I would want to leave marketing at some point. I want to deploy at least once. I want to have the chances at like doing those cool guy schools at least once
Yeah.
before going.
Okay.
But I know that I am just like tossing a word soup your way, but
No,
to
it's all good. This is all great stuff.
like kind of tighten it up, the crux of my experience was largely defined by people first, making sure that I was keeping in mind that I wasn't just trying to recruit kids, I was trying to make it easier for parents to let recruiters talk to their kids. I was trying to create an image of a citizen soldier because that's what we are. Now, the Marine Corps is a big but small organization. Guard is even smaller because you don't PCS in between units. You don't change units often. When you sign up and you want to do your 20, chances are you're probably going to do your whole career in one unit. Chances are you're going. I mean, you may swap MOSs here and there, but for the most part, you're doing your full 20 from start to end in that one unit. So you're going to see the recruiter around a lot. Like it's a small, especially in New Jersey, it's a very tiny state. You're going to see that person. Everyone knows everybody. So I wanted to play into that. I wanted to make media that really showcased the landmarks of the state. I wanted to make media that really showcased recruiters and soldiers giving back to the community because we're a part of the community. It's a big problem that big branches face because they're often dehumanized because it is what it is. We already know that story. But in the Guard, we're unique in the sense that we live and serve here. Hence the slogan, because we really do,
That's a
right?
great. I love that reasoning. Like that makes total sense. I I think that's also kind of like what you're getting at too. I think is just that it does kind of indirectly kind of heat a different approach to marketing because yeah, you could, enlist into the guard, or at least from what I'm hearing, and then you're there, like you're in one unit or you're still like where you're from for the next 20 years. And like that's kind of like a huge kind of like I mean especially what it was for you. Like that's kind of like a one of those factors that just wins over everything,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
yeah, I tell you, it was a full circle moment seeing my recruiter being my National Guard recruiter being my coworker
Yeah.
because of just how small this
Yeah.
organization is, right? So,
I wanted to ask a little bit about
sure.
like your content and your approach to actually just the creative side of it. Like the marketing is amazing. I love the marketing, but I think that a lot of what people get like gets people into marketing is like the love for content creation or just
Yes.
making stuff with a camera, right? So
Right.
like for
Right.
you, what's I want to know what is like your go-to gear? What are you using nowadays to make your stuff?
I got right here the
Woo!
Canon R6 III.
Oh,
It is
the
my
three?
favorite. Yeah, it's the R6 III.
Oh my goodness.
No, I did not sell a kidney. It's just that tax return, that tax refund. It came in clutch. I'm
Mine
not
just
gonna
hit
lie.
last night. I'm feeling like a billionaire there.
For real. All right, so gear check. I I have two main systems. I have my Komodo 6K, which I use to make.
Just a Komodo.
Say again?
I said, oh yeah, just a Komodo, nothing
Uh,
crazy. Just
It took me a year to pay that off. I'm not gonna. It was a big.
you were just gonna fly right over like yeah, I just got the red Komodo, and then yeah, so basically, so red Komodo. How often are you pulling that thing out and using
Oh,
that
I'm
for?
pulling that thing out. Um, I pull that thing out when I know in advance that I want to do a concert. I want to make something really concerted with it, with something. Because it is,
Okay.
I tell you, that workflow, it is about as deliberate and as intensive as it is expensive. It is a beast to learn. And you need a
Yeah.
good computer to use it to. I learned
Yeah.
that the hard way. Um, but when
Okay,
I'm
so you
not
got
using,
Komodo.
we got the Komodo 6K and we also have my R6 Mark III. I also have this really ratchet build that I'm so proud of. I'll spend that tale later. Um, I took a Rebel T7 and its stock lens and affixed a really budget night vision like telescope that you could like put onto your eye. I put like the action mount and I got like a bunch of the GoPro like mandibles and I attached it to the lens, making it attach the night vision thing to the lens, making a makeshift night vision camera. I am proud of that contraption.
You built a homemade astroscope?
Yes, it is.
It's a
I'll say,
Rebel, so it's a Rebel T7 with a kit lens, and then you just rigged up a night vision monocle, it sounds like, to the freaking front of the lens.
yep,
You're a
yep.
mad man. I love it. I
My
love it. That
my
might be
my
the greatest
when I
thing.
showed
Do
it
you
to
have a
my
picture of
friend,
this?
I do actually. Oh my god.
You gotta send that to me after this.
Yeah, man. Oh, man, I want to show it to you so bad, man. It's
That's amazing.
in the first person I showed it to quite literally said, "Yeah, man, that's some fuckery right there." It was, and it was not it did not operate seamlessly. It was mired with a lot of issues. Because it was a camera trying to focus on a digital screen, it looked both weird, but there was an it was like almost like how liminal photography has like, its own aesthetic to it. It was like digitized and really
Yeah.
grainy, but it looked
Yeah.
cool because it was grainy and digitized,
Hell
right?
yeah.
But then, I put my big boy pants up, met more people, learned how to do long exposures and how to do HDR photos and stuff like that. So I don't really
Yeah.
use it as much, but I tell you, it's one of my proudest creations. And I still have it
Nice.
in my bag. Um
Nice.
Not with me, but when I get home I'll send a picture of it to you.
Hey, not everybody has 10K to drop on a fucking astroscope. So you know what? You just gotta make do with what you got.
For
That's
real.
awesome.
Yeah,
So
I
what's like your workflow going into it? Like, so I'm assuming for most things you're going to the R6 Mark III, and
yes.
then what's kind of like what are you doing most nowadays? I saw on your divids you have what 4,400 photos.
Yes. And
That is an insane amount of photos, brother.
I have this is the one time you'll ever catch me talking anything good about Dimphos. Um my video instructor who also taught us how to use this guy gave me the secret sauce to my success, my efficiency success. It was through Adobe Bridge. Matter of fact, you want me to just show you? Because I have my other computer right here.
Run it. Let's run
Freaking
it.
out.
I got
All
some
right.
time. Let's do it.
All right. So this is my MacBook, right? If it there we go. Right. So, right. From now this is just my process, right? It's not
Okay.
super organized because I also just bought this laptop, right? Now, what
What there's a very small percentage of creatives out there that are actually organized. Let's just be honest with it. When it comes to
true, true, but this thing gives me just enough organization to be able to churn out really big albums.
there
So,
you go.
right? So, there we go. Right. So, I start up by getting and offloading the photos, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't. I found out. I thought that it was universal that like everybody did this, but what most people I find out do they go on Lightroom. They don't even like touch Bridge for the most part. They just go on Lightroom and they just select the photos. What I do is I offload everything and then I look at him this way, right?
Yeah.
And I just make my selections here.
Yeah.
And
I
being
think
the
what's crazy is that Dinfos teaches people to import directly to Lightroom.
that's yeah, like that was so mind-boggling me. So when I showed you there, right? I get all of my selects that I want to edit there.
Yeah.
So I'm able to churn out like 1,000 photos that look like that, down to just down to just like 60 photos.
Yeah.
And given how I normally edit, I pick like maybe 20 heavy hitters. After I have my selects, I create a folder called selects in the project file, and then I this is about as complicated as it's gonna get here. I then divide that folder again into three. The final, which is where I export to, the heavy hitters, the ones that I know I'm gonna go ham editing, and then just everything else. Right. So I found that it's actually I'm getting on myself here. So I get all the stuff like the raws in that third folder. That's where I export all that to Lightroom. So I'm exporting like 60 something photos to Lightroom. Uh, let's assume I have like 100. 80 of them, I'm going to do like a copy and paste edit to all of them.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Right. Sometimes I will go in depth. When I was a specialist, I really was that much of a crackhead who really would have gone, out of their way to like edit all of those photos. I was that committed. I was that, especially as I began to network with combat arms units, where I really got to actually have the freedom for once to go and take photos of FTXs. I was a madman. I would edit like 300 or 400 photos at a time. I didn't care. I love
Yep.
that shit. Um, but then I got that 20 photos, the 20 photos that I knew I was going to sit down and edit and mask, and that stuff over there was when I began to actually I'm gonna have stuff here. So those 20 photos, I ordered them in particular because Divids, believe it or not, is a lot more intuitive than people seem to think. Right? So
I
when you
watched you posted something on Divids a little bit ago talking about the kind of like the safe areas for
yeah,
the feed, which I thought was super smart. I'd never thought about that.
it was because I was just getting sick and tired of seeing the photo that I wanted highlighted in the when you click on your branch and you get to see like the most recent uploads by your branch, and it'll show you yours as like the most recent upload, but it'll just be like a super cropped in version of what you wanted. So I said,
Yep.
no, I wanted to be able to make a tool that could actually show you what your photo is going to look like ahead of time when you have to do it. It's called like it's like a safe space tool or a clear space tool or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
You made that tool yourself?
yeah.
And so I think that is like that's a fantastic thing to think about because I mean that's kind of referring back to, hot buzzwords in marketing. We live in a 1 second economy. And if you want something for somebody that's looking through like cool stories and whatnot, a lot of the times that thumbnail is going to be that first initial hook, right? That people are going to look at. And if
Oh yeah.
it's fucked up, then it's like you've already lost so much attention from
And
it.
and this is where the big thing is. I know everybody and their mother wants to be posted on Instagram or Twitter or X. They want that. And there are some photos that like I'm sitting there wondering why the fuck isn't this on their social media? Chances are is because they probably used the wrong photo in the wrong order. So Divots
Oh,
has an order in how you upload photos. So if you're uploading just randomly everything, the last photo in that batch is going to be what is shown on Divots when you click the
really?
thumbnail. Yes. The
So
last
is that just
photo,
a is that a file naming thing? Do you just name the
no,
file
it
in the
all
batch?
depend it's all dependent on the order in which you upload photos.
Interesting. Okay.
So let's say you have 5 photos. You have your capstone photo. You upload that photo last.
Okay.
But if you have and your second photo, the one that you the second best, the one that'll show up as the first thing in your album at the very top when you like click right to see more photos, that's going to be the first photo.
Okay. Yeah,
The
that makes
third,
complete sense.
yeah. So
What
Divots
if you're
doesn't
doing a
tell you that
batch
though.
upload? Because like now with like divots or the freaking 3.0 or whatever, you can upload a bunch at the same time,
Yeah,
right?
it still
So
operates the same way though.
okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
I learned that through just trial and error. But it's all based on the order in which you upload your photos.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's something that a lot of people I think don't take time to think about is like the out front or like the outward looking component or the outward looking perspective of what the job is, where it's like, yeah, we're telling the story to external sources and they're not thinking too much about like the divot side of things, where they're just
No.
thinking about like, hey, let's I'm a master of my craft, make it look good, but as soon as I click the upload of divots, it's like there's no more thought into it. Or as soon as I transfer the file to divots, there's
Yeah.
no thought to it.
Um, a little tangent about divots because it's actually one of the greatest tools you could have as a military marketer who also happens to be public affairs qualified. Allow me to explain. If there's anything you get from this professionally, or if you're looking to get into marketing as a service member, it's this. Right? So divots, I'm sorry, Adobe Bridge is the best tool you could use for search engine optimization. It allows you to store tags. Divots records those tags and puts and embeds those things into your photos. So when you search up that tag, more than likely than not, it's going to pop up on Google first. And when you're like me, uploading like crazy, because in marketing you practice the amount of oversight is it's kind of stupid how you don't have as much oversight as you really should. Most folks don't aren't public affairs qualified. They're not going to stop you. You have a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of trust because there's no one telling you no, hey, don't post this. Hey, this is a no-go. So I'm uploading 60 something things a time. So when I'm uploading them tagged New Jersey Army National Guard, when I'm uploading them tagged drill sergeant, RSP, or something like that, it's going to be very easy for news organizations to find. If you want a stock photo, I can't. I lost count over how many times I've had my drill sergeant photos, my RSP basic training photos picked up because for like the first 4 tabs on Divots, the tag basic combat training was taken up by my stuff.
Yeah.
So Divots allows news organizations and major PAO organizations alike to find those specific images.
That's honestly a really fantastic take because that's honest like that's something a lot of people could hear, especially like I'm thinking about all the Macs just in my district. It's like Divids is
So
such a
underappreciated.
after yeah, like Divids is such an afterthought that I'm someone that suffers from it too. I'm like, oh, I could have better impact by putting more focus on certain things, and then Divids is like such an afterthought. But like that explanation right there, so many more people need to hear that because I completely agree. You know, if you actually do the time to do what Dinfo's taught you and input metadata and the SEO of the sites that have been doing this for fucking decades are going
Yeah,
is going to work.
yeah.
Going to work.
To kind to and it gets even better because think about it in marketing terms. You want to get as much publicity as you possibly can while spending as little as possible.
Facts.
On Divids, you're going to have your stuff picked up by Fox News, CNN, all kinds of news organizations with millions of viewers. Divids allows you to A, reach an audience at a very cost effective means. It also allows you to get ad space or just to get space in general, highlighting your organization. And on top of that, it's one of the best ways to get big organizations like active duty Army, in your case, the Marines, to pick up your stuff and to put it on their social media. And there are lots of stories that PAOs and Comstrat don't really highlight that needs highlighting. So, for instance, um, actually, I think this would really apply to you guys. You guys have two training depots.
Yeah.
You guys have two training. You have San Diego, I believe. Well,
Yeah.
San Diego, and you guys have Harris Island.
Yep.
I am willing to bet my entire paycheck that you guys, that the public affairs guys aren't doing the aren't doing like the training portion of that enough justice on divots.
Yeah, like the Comstrat Marines
I am willing to bet money on that right now.
what would you think what would you think that they should like what would you want to see for from a marketing perspective Comstrat Marines do or just any Marines that are or not Marines any PAO like people focus on if they are at a recruit depot or basic training.
From a PAO
Yeah.
standpoint, they're doing perfectly fine. But from a marketer standpoint, what
Yeah.
I would want to see more is what the trainee wants to know more of. I want to know who the hell I'm going to see when I go there. I
Yeah.
want to see more close-ups of those DIs doing the Lord's work and like shouting at people. I want to see people marching in cadence. I want to see, the activities of these folks, so that way the kids know what they're going to see. That is the
Okay.
biggest thing that comes to my mind. Now, in the National Guard, we don't have the Poolie program. We have RSP. Once a month, I think you guys have something similar. You guys have like what, a Poolie function where you guys actually get a DI to come out and actually shout at Poolies or whatever.
Yeah, we do it
Um,
annually. It's a annual thing actually, and we're about to do ours next month, I think. So
I remember mine. Crazy time. Um, but I'm getting out of safe here. The guy when with the in the National Guard RSP once a month. Yeah, myself here. Once a month, our own drill sergeants. Yes, the National Guard has like home stationed drill sergeants. They're not at basic combat training bases. They're all situated here in the recruiting and retention battalion. So I get free access to drill sergeants whenever the hell I want.
so you have your own.
The National Guard, yes, and it's unique to the National Guard.
They're not training anybody though. They're just
Yeah, they
there.
are.
What? Oh, they
Yeah, they
are.
are. Um, the recruiting and retention battalion still has weekend drills. Those weekend drills take place in the form of recruit sustainment program. Once a month, the applicants who've already enlisted go to the HQ element. In New Jersey, it's a little bit different, but every state has their own RSP. They go to a place, and the National Guard drill sergeants come out and they do the
Huh,
drill sergeant thing.
okay.
And as a PAO, it's beyond me why the M-pads of states don't cover it more often, but you get to see drill sergeants do the drill sergeant thing. You get to take photos of people getting smoke sesh. You get to see people marching in cadence all the time without having to set foot outside of your state.
That is so
So
insane.
yeah, but it's like one of the best. It's not a kept secret because there's more than enough ad material showing that we do that. But it's one of the lesser known things about the National Guard. We don't do like active duty army does like this thing where they reach out to the applicant and they do like a workout with them every now and then. In the National Guard, we're gonna make sure that your ass knows what you're in for by having it right here because we normally get people out to train to basic training in a few months time. And recruiters, we're still active. We have a mission that we have to meet. We have a quota. Offices don't have missions. Recruiters have missions.
Right.
So they don't have the time to dedicate 2 or 3 days out of the week to work out with them. So instead, the drill sergeant day once a month. I'm sorry, the weekend once a month is our way of saying, "Hey, remember you actually signed up with us. This is the commitment that you took. You can't fuck right off like a lot of the active duty
Okay.
guys here, right?"
Yeah, I got it.
So
Um,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So when we do those training moments, I'm there with my camera taking photos of basic training stuff, right? And I'm uploading all that stuff straight to Divots. And mhm.
Do you think that, so with what you're saying, do you think that the reasoning for that is because one of the biggest points of frictions for, prospects or people looking into the military is the initial training that they have to go through?
Yes, without a
And
doubt,
so
yes,
and so trying to maybe, shed more light and bring that barrier down a little bit is a great not just even a great marketing thing but a great sales thing because then there's less objection when it comes to like, oh well, I don't know if
yes,
I'm capable of doing.
yes. In the National Guard, some states have a program called "Be a Soldier for a Day," where you literally can go, no strings attached, no contract signed. You can go to RSP briefly after talking to a recruiter just to see what it's all about.
Wow, that's cool. That's a good program.
Yeah,
That's honestly, yeah, that's honestly a really, really good program.
yeah. So now imagine this. I'm a PAO with have access to divots, and I'm taking photos of drill sergeants. And when you do it enough times at a pace that outspeeds every training battalion in the army, chances are my content is going to just outnumber numerically. The amount of times you'll see a drill sergeant's face on divots than say like Fort Leonard would, even though it's a basic combat training base. Um,
That makes
and
sense.
I will also chalk that up to me not having oversight and them having oversight. You normally only ever post like 5 or 10 things on divots. I'll throw like 60 something things on divots
Yeah,
because I just have the bandwidth to do that.
that's nice. That was something like on my first unit. They were like, you can only post we're gonna cap it out at like eight photos per batch or like 10 photos per batch, and like that's the max you're gonna post. I was able to get by with doing like I think my biggest batch was like 25 photos or something. And
Yeah, to
it's
me
just
that's
because every
small.
one was just a heater. But yeah, exactly. Like to you, that being small is like, dude, 25, like 60 is unheard of for a batch for I think a lot of Marine Corps components. I don't think you'll ever see that.
Yeah, no. So that's why I have that many. It's just because I posted what I wanted. And I'm not going to act like it didn't get me in trouble because it did. Um, because the guy who I looked up to was also my biggest. He wasn't not a hater, but he definitely was like the kind of dude who would just call me unprompted and said, "Hey, unfuck this shit." Like the guy Schwank minced no words. He knocked my ego down a peg, like a peg or two. I needed it to be humbled. I needed to understand that even though I was in marketing and there weren't a lot of rules stopping me from doing all this stuff, I was still a PAO. And I'm a PAO first. So I had to treat this job with just enough brevity to really honor that fact. But at the same time, I have to understand that I'm privileged enough to do more than what PAOs are normally allowed to do.
Mhm.
And it is a fine balance. Um, yeah. So to finish up the conversation about divots, though, really want to get to this point. You have enough SEO to really help your mission in getting your voice out there. It got to a point where where marketing organizations, because the marketing teams will take stuff from divots too, and they will promote your own work. That creates command buy-in, and command buy-in converts into job security. That allowed me to stay and eventually become a permanent fixture of the battalion. That doesn't normally happen.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you're kind of in and out. By being able, yeah,
Nope. Finish what you're
okay.
saying.
By being able to produce content that I could say had it had some kind of influence, or at least made the New Jersey National Guard look good. My battalion commander and my XO at the HQ level didn't they didn't care about where I was or what I was doing because they knew that I was working and that I was yielding results, right?
So speaking about things that are, were you finished with that point?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, so speaking about things that are somewhat unheard of, how does it feel to be what? It's the first National Guard member to win Army Communicator of the Year?
Oh God.
That's the thing, right? That's a
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
right?
I'm not gonna lie, I am proud of it. What I will say is this: um, winning that award to me doesn't. I don't see myself as above or below anybody because of it. Even though I will, tout that. What I will say though is that that award reflects to me the it just reminds me of the trials and tribulations that I went through from being wee little E4, not knowing anything, to, coming up now in the most haphazard way that I did to win that award. And I don't know what it is for other PAOs, but from what I understand, it's a highly coveted award. And to win it,
Yeah, it is. Fucking
um, yeah, yeah, to win it, I'm like, wow, this really did this really to me it validates that marketing. It meant a lot to me. Mind you, I want you to understand, I didn't go out of my way to learn all this stuff because I loved it. I mean, I did, but I did it because I wanted to keep a job. I didn't go out of my way just buying a Komodo 6K. I did it because a friend gave it to me as a hand-me-down because he was upgrading to the Komodo X, which is 10 times better. It was through the friends I made along the way. It was the journey that led up to that. I didn't even set out to do it until I had a couple of people. Shout out to Darby Colson, amazing PAO, and also winner of the DOW Media Award. And Landon Carter, videographer of the year. Um, both of them pushed me to just send a packet and see what happens. Um, but a lot of it was networking, making friends along the way, and I guess ultimately proving to the folks up at NGB and the people immediately over me that marketing is more than just like merchandise. Marketing has an impact that's both public and on the organization. We're a force multiplier and we can help the field. And being one person and all of that mm, just made the reception of that reward all the more sweeter. I hope that
well,
makes sense.
no, yeah, just congratulations on that. It's
Thank you.
awesome. Uh, it's the type of thing where it's like I mean, especially being for you, like it's gotta feel so monumental knowing that you are the only, correct me on this if I'm wrong, but you're the only National Guard PAO to have won this award.
From what I understand, yes, I looked it up extensively. Um, as far as I've seen, I'm the only National Guard PAO to have won Communicator of the Year. There have been National Guard Keith Elware winners. I'm not at all stating that never happened.
But for the
But
Communicator of the Year,
yes, that was never won by a National Guard soldier. So
that's
I'm
amazing.
I'm proud to be the first one to do it.
That's
Um,
amazing. What
yeah,
what
man.
project what project are you most proud of that you think maybe helped you win that award?
Yeah, that's a tough one. What am I most proud of? I am most proud of. That's a really tough one because I have like I have an emotional connection to like two of them specifically. Um, yeah, but I'd have to say of them it would have to be my spot video, the commercial.
Okay.
I think I actually sent it to you.
Yeah.
The commercial that commercial signified to me the day that I was no longer just making stuff for the sake of making stuff. It was when I really took commercial making seriously. That was my first video where everything was shot in the R3D format, which is what Reds normally record in. It was the first time where I actually sat down and really did away with just making an Instagram edit. I shot listed it. I searched for a score. I This is when I actually took it seriously. Um, this is the first time I color graded something in its entirety. I didn't just slap a LUT on something. And I took it that seriously because this is the first instance where I was going to be impacting my demographic. Yeah, we've had YouTube ads before, but everyone has YouTube ads. You skip them after 5 seconds. This was an unskippable ad. So I had to give it my all here. And I made sure that it was nothing short of my best at the time. You can link it in the if this is going up on YouTube, you can feel free to link it. To link the video there.
You
It
know,
is
100%.
it is my I would say to this day it's still my magnum opus. It is the it was the Amazon Hulu ad. It got I don't I don't know off the top of my head because technically the campaign is still running pending funding. Um it got like at least 3 to 400 leads and at least about 800,000 views. So leads, mind you, views versus leads seems kind of insurmountable, but keep in mind we only spent about $20,000 on this, so that already paid for itself just by
Yeah,
virtue
like
of the leads.
the views to the leads, like that's, it's whatever. It's really more about the money spent to the leads.
Yeah,
You
so
the
no,
leads
no, it wasn't
guy.
$20,000. It was actually much shorter than that. It was like, oh no, no, I'm lying. No, no, no. It was funded by SMSP, so we didn't even spend anything on it. So it was just free ad space that we had. It was already paid for. So I wanted to prove to, and this was also me proving to my command that marketing for the first time had results to offer. Because this was the first major trackable campaign that we could link leads to enlistments for via NGB's tracking system.
Okay.
Right? So I needed to make something that really would get people in the seat and actually
Yeah.
enlist.
Yeah.
So knowing the mission and its impact, I took everything seriously.
There's a
So yeah,
story that you have um about a US Army National Guard soldier saving her own life with the training that she learned in frickin' basic training.
that story.
Yeah. Can you like what's yeah, can you talk a little bit about that? Like what
Sure.
happened there?
So that story is unabridged. Everything that happened in that story. Now, my NCOIC, Sergeant Moore, really drove home the people first mentality that I embody. So I took it upon myself to really I needed a written piece. I needed a written piece for Keith Elware. And it couldn't just be any random ass piece. It couldn't just be something stupid. It had to be something powerful. And my MCOIC knows a lot of people, including Sanaa Drinks, who was the subject of that story. She told me about it. I didn't know how I felt about interviewing her about it, but I said, fuck it. The deadline is in a week. Let me see if I can get her on board. And lo and behold, she had no problem talking about it. I was afraid that I was gonna like have her relive that experience.
Yeah.
Um, but she told me everything in detail. Um, she I've never it was I don't know if you've spoken to veterans before where they can describe in like morbidly descript detail about like that event. That's what it was like listening to her. She told me everything that happened from A to Z. Um, like I couldn't write it down quick enough. I thank God I was recording it, but I felt like I was really there when she was talking to me about everything that had happened. And you don't often get that. You don't
Yeah.
always get that with people when you interview for a written piece. Because I wasn't abridging anything. This was everything that had happened with her and her boyfriend. So when she described it to me, I felt like I really was taken back into the streets of Philly where she got shot. Um, so having the chance to convey that story where she saved her own life, I think really drove home the purpose for a recruiting battalion and a PAO's place in a recruiting battalion. It's stories like these that you don't get to often tell because people don't talk about it. But the fact that they're practically kids again, as enlistees, they're applicants, right? These are kids in our eyes. Poolies are like kids in your eyes. They're boots. They haven't done anything. They haven't. They're so young. They're youthful into the military experience. They can be older than you, but still they're innocent. But for her, she experienced more intimacy with death itself than the grand majority of the soldiers in the National Guard. And you don't get the chance to talk about that. So when she began to tell me more, felt like it was kind of like a something called me to really give this written piece my all. I don't write very often, but it was like I felt like it was a duty of mine to have to convey her story unabridged in the best way possible. I thought I was going to get taken down, or I thought I was going to get told by people on Divids to remove because it was a little graphic. Um, but I didn't care. I wanted to know that her story was heard and the aftermath of it, where recruiting really comes into play. She was about to get chaptered out of the military, just outright. But Sergeant Moore, she's like a mother in this battalion. She's like Mama Bear. She did not let her leave. She did everything in her power to make sure that that girl stayed in uniform because that's what that girl wanted. She just finished basic. She didn't want to go. And just thinking about it, it kind of gets to me a little bit. I didn't want to write that lightly.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think you did a fantastic job, like trying to put, because I think one thing that's difficult when you're creating a story like that is trying to also put the reader in the same shoes that you felt that you were in when you were interviewing that person. And I think you did a fantastic job of of doing that in your writing. And yeah, it was definitely like
Thank you.
when you open up the page on the article talking about Soldier Communicator of the Year. That's the first thing on there, and I think for good reason. So this was the first story that you wrote.
No, that was the. I think that was the fourth or third. Divid is kind of wonky like that because it's only showing that I wrote three news stories. I wrote four. Um, but I think that was the third major news story that I published. The other one was for an equally big situation where a kid saved a family from like a burning house. That was like 2 years ago. But I did that because I thought it was just like a good marketing opportunity. I wasn't like called to write it like I was with Sanaa.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
for
yeah.
sure. Cool, man. Look, being in the position that you're at, being in a recruiting thing, what advice would you give to what advice would you give to anybody that looks at, people like us doing the jobs that we have that, want to learn more about it or get into it? What kind of words would you have for somebody that's like, I guess what would you tell them looking from the outside in on what they might, see that they see us do? I don't know, what kind of words would you have for someone like that?
Give me a second. Take it from a guy who signed up with virtually no experience whatsoever in content creation. A good artist, not everybody can be a good artist, but a good artist can come from anywhere. You may never know who the hell will be the next guy winning DOW Communicator of the Year, Photographer of the Year. You'll never know. But you won't know unless you actually try. I thought I was going to ride out my college career and just, carry on with my poli sci degree. I didn't know that I'd find my calling in public affairs. And if you're scared that you won't make it, of all the communities that I've been in, the public affairs community has been the most welcoming and educative. Hell, we're having this conversation. We are literally proof of this.
Yeah.
They are willing to help you learn everything from A to Z if your leadership can't. Matter of fact, the networking builds those bonds. Um, I wouldn't have won, and I promise you this is going to be the end of my tangent. August Clausen, Landon Carter, Darby Colson, these guys are all major heavy hitters, and they all respond to my messages, both prior to me, winning this award and after winning this award. These guys set the standard, and they're reachable, and they guided me through the entire process. And when I won, they congratulated me as if I was one of them. I think if there's anything that like signified that we are in the military, like in a 1-2-1 fight or whatever, it was that because the competition is a competition, but I felt like the victory was more than just mine. So when you're looking at those really high speed edits, those like beautiful color grades, the fucking rotoscopes that August Clausen somehow manages to just put to freaking screen, making me feel like I ain't shit. Just know those people were you at one point. You can do it too if you put your mind to it. That's all I have to say on that end.
Seth, it's been an absolute fantastic time talking with you. I think we went over by like definitely double what we expected, but that's totally fine because it's been a great
More
time and
content.
yeah, more content, but just better insights on, what more of what there is out there because,
Yeah.
marketing for the National Guard, it's rare, but it exists and it's a beautiful thing. So
Yep.
awesome,
All
brother.
right.
All right, Seth. Well, I'll keep in touch with you. I'll see you on Instagram. I'll we'll be in talks, all right?
Hell yeah, man. Talk to you soon.
All right.